Hello and welcome back to Planet 40k. Today's another Necrons list build and we're basing it upon one of the members lists within the channel. So if you haven't already checked out our members area of the channel, simply find the link in the description, click the join button and it'll bring up information of what you can expect with all the perks and privileges for as little as 99 pence per month. Let's get on to the video today. We have done two previous videos in this series, but if you aren't aware of how the concept works, I've got some of our members to mail in their list, any dynasty, any points value. It could be match play, it could be open play, any kind of list they want from the Necron force. They're sending it in. I'm going to then assess their list, tell you what I like, tell you what I dislike, and then I'm going to amend their list, maybe to something that I would prefer. So today's list is coming from Trip Travers, another elite member of the channel here. He's done a 1000 point list for us today. So he's going to be using a battalion detachment. That's going to require 2 to 3 HQs and between 3 and 6 troops. So let's see how we get on with that. So he's gone with the Mefrit dynasty. So getting a plus 3 inch to the range of all the attacks apart from the pistols. And of course firing at half range will improve the AP by 1. And then the Protocol of Vengeful Stars. You're getting both the directives for that battle round, for that command protocol. So let's begin the list then. So starting off with the Warlord, and the first HQ of this list is going to be an Overlord. So the stock price for these guys is 95 points. Now he has opted to take a Resurrection Orb, which will cost you another 30 points. As for the actual Warlord trait, he's stuck with the Mefrit dynasty here. He's gone with the Merciless Tyrant. So it's going to be +1 to the strength and attacks characteristics of the Warlord. As for the actual weapon, he's gone with the War Scythe, which is strength 7, which will now go up to strength 8 due to that Warlord trait. -4 AP and the damage being 2. So quite a melee based Warlord. In terms of a relic, he's gone with the Veil of Darkness relic. So teleporting the Overlord and a dynasty core unit that's within 3 inches of the bearer anywhere on the battlefield, but it has to be more than 9 inches away from enemy models, and that can be done in turn 1. But the main reason to take an Overlord is simply for the Mind Will Be Done ability. Again, it's synergizing with core units within 9 inches. They're going to get a +1 to their hit roll. So whether it's Lich Guard, whether it's Immortals, whether it's Warriors or Tomb Blades. Because unfortunately our codex does lack the core keyword. There's only 4 units with the core keyword. So I'm presuming that with this list there's going to be some of those units. So let's move on to the second HQ of the list, which is a Royal Warden. So this guy has one real trick here, which is the Adaptive Strategy ability, which is in the command phase. You select a core unit within 9 inches of the model and they are eligible to shoot and declare a charge even if they fell back. So perfect for a Mefrit dynasty because you don't really want to be in combat with your guys. You want to be out of combat, you want to be firing, getting that -1 AP and the better range if needed too. So this guy gets your guys out of dodge when needed. Now he has used the rarefied ability stratagem to be able to add another Warlord trait to the list, and he's going to be giving it to the Royal Warden, and it's going to be Enduring Will, which is effectively a -1 to all damage taken, giving him a little bit more resiliency, although he doesn't have an invuln save unfortunately, so he will definitely need it. So he's also going to be using another stratagem with a Royal Warden, which is the Dynastic Heirloom stratagem for 1 command point. Very similar to the previous stratagem we've just mentioned, this one allows for another relic within the army. So the relic that's going to be going with the Royal Warden is his own personal relic actually, which is the Conduit of Stars relic. So it's going to replace his relic Gorse Blaster with the Conduit of Stars, and it has the following profile. So it's a 36 inch range, which will go up to 39 inches due to the Mefrit dynasty's +3 inches. Then it's got a rapid fire of 3, which then again goes up, so that'll be 20 inches. Strength 6, -2 AP, and the damage is 2. So within 20 inches, getting 6 shots at strength 6 and 2 damage as well. It's pretty decent. I always take that if I'm taking a Royal Warden. Now there's a third HQ in this list, which is a Plasmancer. It's not often you see a Plasmancer in a list nowadays. They've been sort of put at the back of the queue in terms of Cryptex due to the Chronomancer and the Technomancer being just a lot better than them. But the reason for taking a Plasmancer is the 2 main abilities, Living Lightning and the Harbinger of Destruction. So the Living Lightning is the start of the fight phase. Roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of the Plasmancer, and on a 4+, they suffer a mortal wound. Then the Harbinger of Destruction, which is done in the movement phase. You roll 3d6, and for each 4+, the closest enemy unit within 24 inches and visible suffers a mortal wound. So plenty of mortal wounds being spilled when they're using a Plasmancer. Now he also comes with a Plasmic Lance, which is a shooting and a melee weapon. The shooting side of it is 18 inches, assault d3, strength 7, -3 AP, and the damage is 2. And the melee side of the weapon is strength user, making it strength 4, -3 AP, and the damage is 2. So not too bad at range to be fair, strength 7, -3 AP, and 2 damage. After 2 or 3 turns, it may have picked off a few models by that point. Now he has given this Plasmancer a Cryptek Arcana, which is the Plasmancer specific one, which is the Quantum Orb. So it's very rare I see this one. So once per battle in the command phase, the bearer can activate this Arcana. If it does, you select 1 point on the battlefield anywhere within 24 inches of the bearer and you place a marker at that point. At the start of your next command phase, you roll a d6 for each unit within 6 inches of the centre of that marker, subtracting 1 if it's a character unit then on a 4 or a 5, the unit will suffer D3 mortal wounds. And on a 6, they're going to be suffering 3 mortal wounds, then you remove the marker. So half a chance that they're going to be suffering some sort of mortal wounds, preferably you're rolling a 6 of course to get 3 mortal wounds. So to be honest with you, you can't really expect to be actually dealing mortal wounds with this. It's more of a scare tactic. You're moving your opponent's units away from a specific area, whether it's an objective, whether it's just a key area of the board that you don't want your opponent's units going near, because they've got an entire turn to move their guys out of the way. However, if those enemy units are trapped in combat and they're not falling back that turn, that's a really good place to catch them out, because they won't be falling back. This still goes off, mortal wounds still happen against units that are in combat, so that is ideally one of your ways to use this, forcing your opponent to fall back out of combat, or they're going to suffer the consequences. Now he is going to be buffing that Plasmancer with a couple of Cryptophrals. These little bucket bots are 40 points for the pair, and they've got a few key abilities, so bound creations. They basically don't take up a battlefield role if you're taking a Cryptek, standard there. They've got the Protector's Aura, so within 3 inches of a Cryptek, your opponent cannot target the Cryptek with range attacks. It's basically a Lookout Sir, but a better version of it, because even range weapons that ignore the Lookout Sir ability cannot ignore the Protector's Aura. Then finally got the Systematic Vigor. So while these Cryptophrals are within 6 inches of your Plasmancer, their ballistic skill and weapon skill goes to a 3+, and their attacks go to 6, so they're going to get 6 attacks each, hitting on 3s at strength 5 as well. The pistols are -2 AP, and the melee weapon is -1 AP. They're all both 1 damage, but at the end of the day, these are 40 points. They're easily worth it every single time you take a Cryptek. Now the only reason why you sometimes don't take these is because maybe you're using a Veil of Darkness relic on, say, a Chronomancer, or you're putting that Deep Strike Arcana on the Cryptek model itself, and obviously the Cryptophrals cannot Deep Strike, and they're not core, so they can't be going with the Veil of Darkness relic either. So that's why you sometimes don't see them in every list. But if you are foot slogging one of your Cryptek models, you definitely take these, especially when you've got a Plasmancer that doesn't have an invuln save. So that's the HQs all summed up there, with the Overlord, the Real Warden, the Plasmancer and the Cryptophrals, and they come to a combined total of 335 points. So next we're going to move into the troops area of the list, and it's gone with some warriors. So it's gone with 2 units of 10 warriors and then 1 unit of 20 warriors. Now he's had to do this due to the fact that a battalion needs 3 troop choices, not 2 troop choices. He's gone with 2 units of 10 with the Gorse Flayers, and then 1 unit of 20 with the Gorse Reapers. So that synergy should be clicking in your head now why he's taken 20 with the Reapers. If you remember from the HQ section, the Overlord with the Veil of Darkness relic can take a core unit and allow them to hit on 2s as well. So with the 12-inch Gorse Reaper, it's better to take them in a max unit of 20, move them from one side of the board to the other to get them in range, and in fact that 12-inch range will go up to 15-inch with the Mephrit Dynasty as well, then 2 shots apiece at strength 5 -2 AP 1 damage. Now the weaker Gorse Flayers, which has gone with 2 units of 10, they are a longer range at 24-inch range, which goes to 27, but they're rapid fire, so you could potentially get 2 shots there. Only strength 4 -1 AP, but at half range it will be -2 AP. With both of those weapons, you've got the option of using the Disintegration Capacitors stratagem for 1 command point, which effectively allows any Gorse weapons that hit on a 6 to automatically wound. So I'd definitely be using that with my larger blob of 20 warriors with the Reapers to bypass that wound roll, especially when you've got 40 shots there. So that's actually the troops all summed up. It's very easy, 3 units there, 2 units of 10 and 1 unit of 20, and that comes in at a total of 520 points. So the battalion is now legal. We've got our 3 HQs, we've got our 3 troops, so anything else is now a bonus. So let's go on to the next one, which is the fast attack slots. He's got no elites here, we're going to the fast attack. He's gone with some Canoptic Scarabs. So he's gone with 1 unit of 6 and he's gone with another unit of 3. So as we all know, these things are great for scoring points, for tying up units, for being a speed bump. They've got loads of uses, and I keep saying this in every video that I talk about Scarabs. They win you games. I mean, I played a game only a couple of days ago, and these guys pretty much won me the game. They maxed out the secondaries, which is the Ancient Machinery secondary from the Necron Codex, and they also just kept holding on to so many primary objectives that I just had too many points for my opponent to deal with. Just wanted to mention a few little key stratagems which you can use with the Scarabs. First one is self-destruction, so you can effectively blow one up in the fight phase, and you're going to be causing D3 mortal wounds on a roll of a 2 to a 5, and if you roll a 6, it'll be a flat 3 mortal wounds, but then you will lose one of your Scarab Swarms. Now I quite like to use this when I've got one Scarab down to 1 single wound remaining. You're very likely to lose it in the fight phase anyway. You may as well blow it up and cause some mortal wounds on the way out. And then there's also the Enslaved Protector stratagem for 1 command point, using your opponent's charge phase, and it effectively allows them to heroically intervene as if they were characters. So it's a very good way to tie up a unit. So he's gone with 1 unit of 6 and 1 unit of 3. I will go over later in my analysis section of this video to why I don't quite agree with that. but for now we'll plod on. So this is going to come to a total of 135 points for the fast attack. And in fact that will finalise the list. He has given me 990 points worth, so there is 10 points spare. I'm sure there'll be some sort of upgrade that we could do. But let's move on to the tactics of how this list is going to work. So we've already kind of mentioned a little bit of the tactics with the Overlord and the Warriors. With the My Will Be Done ability, he's going to be allowing that Warrior unit to be hitting on 2s with the Gorse Reapers. And he's also taking that Resurrection Orb, don't forget, so he could be popping that off. You definitely want to be using that on the max unit of 20 as opposed to a unit of 10. We've not actually mentioned the Method Code stratagem which is available, which is called Talent for Annihilation for 1 command point. Any unmodified wound rolls of a 6 will inflict a single mortal wound on top of the damage to a maximum of 3 mortal wounds per that phase. Now you're only really going to be using this on a max unit of 20 warriors or a max unit of Tomb Blades. That's the only time where you really get your value. So you definitely want to be popping this one off with your Gorse Reaper unit, especially when they're hitting on 2s. Because you want to maximise the amount of hits you get so that you've got more dice to play with when you're doing that wound roll. So of course, in theory, that's more 6s. So Trip Chavez has told me that the Royal Warden is going to be going with one of the warrior units, one of the smaller 10-man units with the Gorse Flayers. So they're going to be marching in a different direction and they're going to be able to fall out of combat if needed. Now the Plasmancer and the Cryptothralls are also going to be following that unit with the Royal Warden and those 10 warriors with the Flayers. And then the last 10 warriors with the Flayers, they're going to be staying on our home objective just to score points. And likewise, the Scarabs will likely be doing that too. If not, they'll just be screening off some warriors as a backline defense because you don't want to be losing your warriors early game. So let's get on to my analysis of this list and those tactics. So starting with the Dynasty Code. The Dynasty Code is perfect for this list. This is the dynasty you want to be using, the Mefrit Dynasty. You don't want to be using the Sautek Dynasty. That's more of a rapid fire option, although you do have 20 warriors holding the Gorse Flayers, but you've definitely selected the correct dynasty for this list. Now, a few little things that I would change. I would personally take out the Plasmancer and the Cryptothralls, which cost you 130 points in total, and I'd put something a little bit heavier in. You've not really got much high strength in the list. I think the best weapon within the list is just Strength 8 War Scythe with the Overlord and the Warlord trait ability, but other than that, not really much high strength and high damage weaponry within the list. Now, Plasmancers are great because they're throwing out mortal wounds. Something like a Canoptic Doomstalker to put on your backlines to be firing at a decent range, strength 10 as well, and they cost you 140 points. Now that is of course 10 points more than your Plasmancer and your Cryptothralls, but you had 10 points spare to begin with, so you could do that just to give you a little bit of heavy support there. As for the Warriors, they're best served in max units of 20, not only for the actual firing and the My Will Be Done and all that stuff, but also for the reanimation protocols. It works much better when you're in a max unit. Now of course you've had to do that because of the battalion detachment, I understand that. But that brings me on to another problem, which is having a 75 point Royal Warden just for a 10-man warrior unit. I just don't think it's worth bringing a 75 point model just to get those guys out of combat. For only 10 points more, you could just get a 5-man unit of Immortals or something along those lines. Now as for the actual detachment itself, you've gone with a battalion detachment. I think if you took that Doomstalker, it will then allow you to use a patrol detachment as opposed to a battalion detachment. Then you could fit those 2 units of 10 warriors into one single unit, and then that Royal Warden will be much better served going with a 20-man blob as opposed to a 10-man unit. Because again, I just don't think paying 75 points just for a 10-man warrior unit at 130 points is worth defending that much. So yeah, you put the warriors together, make them a full unit of 20. Then what I would do is with the Overlord, I'd use the Hand of the Pharaon stratagem to give him the Pharaon keyword so that he can be buffing both the warrior units at the same time with that My Will Be Done ability. Now this may or may not work within the game because if he's using that Veil of Darkness relic, he might be at the complete other side of the board. So he won't be able to buff those warriors, but it is just an option if you wanted it. Or a complete alternative option to doing all that kind of stuff. Instead of having a 10-man unit of warriors for 130 points, you could have gone with 5 Immortals for 85 points. Especially the ones that are going to hold your own objectives in your own deployment zone. They're better off served with a better range and a toughness value of a 5. And of course they've got a better armor save too. The Scarabs I definitely agree with having in this list. They're definitely worth taking in every single list, in every single dynasty, always worth it. Now the only issue I've got with this, as mentioned earlier, is the fact that you've got a unit of 6 and a unit of 3. Now you could have potentially had 3 units of 3 perhaps with a battalion detachment, or you could just have a unit of 5 and a unit of 4. The reasons for that is if your opponent has got the blast ability on any of their weapons, then if they target a Scarab swarm with 6 models within that unit, the blast ability will activate and they're going to get more hits with their weapon. And of course unit coherency changes when you get 6 models as well. So you're better off having 5 or less. But if you've actually taken the battalion detachment, taking 3 units of 3 is actually more ideal because you can hold 3 different objectives. And as I already mentioned earlier with my previous game with the ancient machinery secondary, you've got 3 chances of scoring it because you've got 3 different canoptic units. They're the ones that you want doing actions as opposed to a core unit. Other alternatives that you could take with this list, now I know this is a 1000 point list so it's not easy just to throw in random HQs here, but as an alternative to say the Plasmancer again, you could have taken a Technomancer with the rights of reanimation ability for core units, especially warriors within 6 inches to bring back D3 warriors per turn, and likewise a Ghost Ark could do the exact same thing with its repair barge ability, and you can actually be putting 10 warriors in those things. Which I personally don't like taking 10 warriors, but as this list does have 2 lots of 10, one of those could have gone in here, which would probably serve you a lot better than having a Royal Warden. But of course that is a little bit more pricey, so I'm not sure how you would get that one in, to be honest. But the final bit of synergy that could have been placed is the Canoptic Reanimator with the Nanoscale Reanimation Beam Aura, just to give you an extra +1 to those reanimation protocols for a given unit. But other than that, when you're playing at 1000 points, it's quite difficult to make a competitive Necron list, especially when you're fitting 3 HQs within that list. That's taking up a third of all your points for your entire list combined. And the fact that you've gone with the battalion detachment needing 3 troops as well, it doesn't leave you much breathing room for taking elites and heavy support options. You're not obviously getting a Catan Shard in there, that's way too expensive. You're not getting a Silent King, that's also way too expensive. But yeah, they're the changes that I would probably implement. Also guys, in the comments, let me know what you would implement. What would you change in this list and why? And also, what do you like in this list? Let us all know. So guys, that's actually it from me today for analysing Trip Chavez's list at 1000 points from the Mefrit Dynasty. Do me a huge favour and hit the thumbs up if you're liking these kind of list build videos from our members of the channel. We're trying to give back to those paid members, giving them obviously a shout out and a dedicated video. Also remember guys to subscribe to the channel if you are new and you found this video useful in some way. We're trying to grow the channel, so I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.